According to an article on Newsweek, they've received comments from YouTube about the channel Just In, which Newsweek says posts blatantly ridiculous videos that negatively target one individual, referring of course to Amber Heard. Newsweek says that YouTube told them that the channel does not violate platform guidelines, and they quote YouTube in the article as saying, "Hate speech is not allowed on YouTube. Our hate speech policies strictly prohibit content promoting violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on certain protected attributes." We'll come back to those in a moment. It also quotes the YouTube spokesperson as saying, "We enforce our community guidelines rigorously and removed over 95,000 videos for violating hate speech policies in the first 3 months of 2022. It then goes on to say that the platform reviewed the channel and a number of its videos and concluded, upon review, the flagged videos do not violate our community guidelines or our advertiser-friendly guidelines. Now, just speaking about YouTube's policies quite broadly, two of them that are quite relevant here are the hate speech and the harassment and cyberbullying policies. They broadly reflect what is fairly universal law against making threats and harassment which are based on protected characteristics. In England and Wales, those are defined in the Equality Act of 2010 and broadly relate to anything to do with age, race, gender, sexual orientation, disabilities, and so on. For example, the harassment and cyberbullying policy states that content that threatens individuals is not allowed on YouTube. So much of the content that we're really talking about, as much as it might be distasteful to some, is not really, from the ones that I've seen, threatening of any particular individual. But let's read on. It then says, "We also don't allow content that targets an individual with prolonged or malicious insults based on intrinsic attributes." Now again, those come back to those attributes, and it specifies in the guide here. These attributes include protected group status or physical traits. So if videos or content generally were targeting a particular individual with prolonged or malicious insults which are based on any of those particular attributes, then that would come under the harassment and cyberbullying policy, and naturally YouTube would then remove it. The reason I feel that a lot of these videos will fall outside of these particular policies and guidelines is if they are just talking about a public trial and what's been found in a public trial, as opposed to a particular attribute of one particular individual. YouTube might conclude that it still falls within free speech or freedom of expression, or however it's phrased in your particular jurisdiction, and therefore YouTube has decided not to remove it. This policy goes on to say, if you are posting content that falls with any of the following descriptions, and it lists some examples and exceptions, then of course you shouldn't post that sort of content. There is the separate hate speech policy, which is broadly similar to the harassment and cyberbullying, but with a much broader approach to hate speech within content promoting violence or hatred, I'm reading from the guide here, against individuals or groups based on any of the following attributes. And again, these attributes broadly reflect what are typically protected characteristics around the world, certainly in England and Wales. And this list includes age, caste, disability, ethnicity, gender, identity and expression, nationality, race, immigration status, religion, sex or gender, sexual orientation, victims of a major event and their kin, or veteran status. And goes on to say what this policy means for you if you're posting content. Don't post content on YouTube if the purpose of the content is to do one or more of the following, and those include encouraging violence against individuals or groups, or inciting hatred against individuals or groups based on any of those attributes named above. There is a section which makes this even broader, which says other types of content that violates these policies, which includes dehumanizing individuals or praising or glorifying violence, or the use of racial or religious slurs and stereotypes, and this list goes on. But there is also an educational content section which says that we may allow content that includes hate speech if the primary purpose is educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic in nature. This does not pass to promote hate speech. For example, a documentary about a hate group, educational content that isn't supporting the group or promoting ideas would be allowed. A documentary promoting violence or hatred wouldn't be allowed. But this, very broadly, should be common sense. So if these videos are in some way educational and they are not specifically targeting a group and certainly not encouraging hate or promoting attacks against certain groups or individuals based on those intrinsic attributes, then YouTube is not going to take action against those videos. And of course, the policy applies to not just the videos, but also the video descriptions, the comments, the live streams, and any other products and features that it offers. That's why if you have various comments that you leave against videos and they are taken to be some kind of hate speech, YouTube is going to filter those out. I get lots of comments saying, why have I removed the comments because they were a little bit edgy? I haven't removed those comments. I actually don't have time to go through and filter and edit those. That's why the YouTube filters are so strong in and of themselves, and YouTube itself removes many of these comments. So of course I'm aware that there are lots of people that feel that these types of videos should not be on YouTube because they are talking about Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, this trial, and various other parties to various other trials very publicly, and that they shouldn't be on YouTube. But so long as the videos aren't promoting violence or hatred, and perhaps they have some kind of educational content, then they're going to be allowed. And doubtless many of those videos have been removed, although once removed, they're obviously less visible, so it might not be as obvious that those videos have been removed. It's only really the ones that remain live that are obviously visible and very much more in the public eye, and therefore attract that attention. So I can only suggest that YouTube does review these videos when they are flagged and makes a determination based on these guidelines. YouTube is obviously a private platform. They are balancing free speech as against their rules, what should and should not be allowed. And obviously that's going to be a very difficult balance to have. Balancing free speech with education versus hate, whereas the educational videos of a documentary nature might have some negative connotations towards a person, but so long as it's not promoting violence and hatred towards that person, and certainly not with any particular intrinsic attribute characteristic, then YouTube is obviously going to make that determination. So I hope that sheds some light on why those videos remain live, why YouTube probably had the response that they did, and gives you a little bit of guidance as to their policies in deciding whether videos should remain live or not. I would really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe, because we are back on Black Belt Secrets, where I'm sharing some more of my daily thoughts with you in my new vlogging sofa. I hope you like the color, and I hope you like these segments, so please do like the video and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.